I didn't preface this very well in the last video. I was making that kind of for somebody who's already an A&P. This is not a side business or a side hustle for somebody who is, I don't know, maybe does a day job in like logistics or some sort of office job or whatever it may be, and you're like, you know what, I want to do something on the side. I'm going to get an A&P and I'm going to work on airplanes because that's what the guy on the internet said to do. That's not what I'm saying. What's going on YouTube? Bryce Builds It All, your favorite A&P, IA, and Part 147 instructor. Now, I am coming to you from a floor jack in my barn, but I promise this video is about aircraft, and if you're unsure what I mean, allow me to show you. So, I don't know where my stool is, so I just grabbed my floor jack and put a block of wood on top of it. Behind me is Gwyn, my 1996 Mazda Miata, and let's get into this video. So what I want to talk about, in my last video, I talked about how much money you can make or how much money you could realistically make as an A&P running a side business working on general aviation aircraft. And there are some costs that I'd like to go into more about that, so stick around. So the first thing I want to mention is legally doing business. Now, one or two people had asked me, they said, are you getting paid under the table or do you have a business license? Like, is it legit? And I said, well, for me and for you, if you're making more than maybe I'd say $200 to $300 a month, it's a good idea to have a legitimate business, not just for tax purposes, but also for lawsuit purposes and more on that. Now, I live in the state of Texas, so there's not really like any business license requirements. You can just file for an EIN number and either DBA, which means doing business as, and you can call that your company name or you can call it yourself. You can DBA your name or aircraft maintenance, whatever, right? Or you can file for an LLC. There's obviously other options, but what I did was I filed for an LLC, and what I did, or how I did it, is I went down to the post office and I registered a PO box at the post office under the name of my LLC. Now, I'm not going to say the name of my LLC on YouTube, sorry. But anyways, filed for an LLC at the PO box under my business name. And that's very important because you have to pay for a PO box. And I forget how much they are, but they're not expensive, but they're not really cheap. It's just a monthly cost, something you need to think about. So I got a PO box, registered the LLC to that, and that protects me from a lot of things. If somebody sues me, they can only take the things that the LLC is attached to, which is my tools, I think my toolbox, and then obviously the work and the clients I do for, but it's me that is the business. It's not things, it's not assets that are the business, and it separates everything that I have in this beautiful barn, all of my toys, if you will, from my business, so that if I ever get sued, they're all safe. They're all protected from a lawsuit due to an accident, injury, whatever it may be. Now, filing for an LLC, depending on your state, I know in Texas it's $300 something, and then there's a yearly renewal fee. In some states, I think Georgia is like $100. It's a one-time fee. So that depends on your state. It may be, or I should say it is worth it to you though, in my opinion, to go ahead and file for an LLC from the jump. There's just too much liability in today's business realm and world, so file for an LLC. The second thing that I really didn't go into that much is insurance. And the reason I didn't go up into it too much in the last video is insurance is very, very, very expensive, and a lot of people will choose to run without it. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good idea. I'm not advocating for running without a general liability insurance policy, but I did get quotes at one point, and depending on who you go with, even for aircraft maintenance, you're looking at easily a $15,000 premium a year, annuitized over 12 months. It's like $1,200 a month just to carry $1 million liability insurance policy should something happen. I'm gonna lower myself just a hair. That was fun. So should something happen, you wanna have an insurance policy so that you're protected. Combined with your LLC, you're gonna be the safest, but I know a lot of people who don't run an insurance policy just because of how expensive it is. And if you're only making $5,000, $10,000 a year, it's going to be almost impossible to justify having a $15,000 a year insurance policy. Now that's just one person, that's just one place that I got a quote from. I'm sure you can find it cheaper. Don't quote me as that is the law. It is going to be a $15,000 policy. It might be more, it might be considerably less. You might be able to find a great deal from somewhere. I don't know. I'm not going to say the name of the people I went and got the quote from because they're not affiliated with the channel, and I'm not going to call somebody out and say this was their number. That's just what I found. So insurance is a huge cost. But now, down to actually being an IA, and I didn't preface this very well in the last video, I was making that kind of for somebody who's already an A&P. This is not a side business or a side hustle for somebody who is, I don't know, maybe does a day job in like logistics or some sort of office job or whatever it may be, and you're like, you know what, I want to do something on the side. I'm going to get an A&P and I'm going to work on airplanes because that's what the guy on the internet said to do. That's not what I'm saying. This is a very, very expensive field to get into. Just to get an A&P, to go through a 147 school, some are $45,000 and take 19 months. Others, if you're at a community college, are like $15,000 and take 19 months, but you have to be in district. It's full time. It's 7:30 to 4 every single day, Monday through Friday, until you're finished. So it makes it very hard to hold a day job. You could go the 30-month practical experience route, but again, that means working a job full time for 30 months to get practical experience. So the video is aimed, or was aimed, at people who already have an A&P, who are maybe working in like a propeller overhaul facility or an engine overhaul facility, or for Boeing or a major airline, and already have that certificate. They're already in aviation, and they don't have a non-compete with the company they're working for. If you're working in the general aviation maintenance shop, they're not going to be okay with you doing work on the side on your own aircraft and building your own client base. So understand that. So that's kind of who I was pointing this at, because getting an A&P, like I said, is very, very, very expensive. It's at least a 2-year process to get the A&P. You then have to serve as, depending on what FSDO you go to, they want to see general aviation experience. You then have to serve as an A&P for 3 years before they'll even let you test to get your IA. And then the test for the IA is very, very, very hard. And I've said this in other videos. I went to Baker School of Aeronautics in Tennessee, and they made it incredibly easy, but it cost me about $1,200 to drive out there, get a hotel, go through the program, and then drive home after 4 days. So all that being said, just getting the A&P, you're looking at a lot of money. The second cost is all of the tooling that you're going to have to buy to be an A&P / to be an IA. Just my necessary inspection equipment. Let's see, what all do I have? I have a tensiometer that measures 3 different cables. That was like $300. I've got 3 torque wrenches. They were about $120 each. I'm not going to lie. I did get them from, I think I got them from Northern Tool. And I did get those calibrated, as is my tensiometer. I'll talk about calibration here in a second. I've got a ATS master orifice compression tester that I got from ATS. I've got an ATS ignition timing light that I got from ATS. And I know I'm missing something. I know I've got something else. Of course, I've got a borescope. I've got a flashlight, a mirror. Those are all tools needed for an IA. And then I have to pay for the yearly calibrations for all those things. Oh, jacks. I do have a set of jacks. I actually rented a set of jacks for several years because I didn't have my own. I ended up buying a set of jacks, and I'll throw photos up of the tools that I have so you can see what I'm talking about with their respective costs. But I did buy a set of jacks. I don't have the high wing adapters for them because my buddy, who I used to rent my jacks from, he has the high wing adapters, so when I need them, he just lets me borrow his high wing adapters and I use his high wing adapters. Not everyone is going to be in that situation. Not everyone's going to have a good friend that lets you borrow their tools or use their things who's also an IA. I understand that. So maybe take that into account if you're running a side business. So the calibration on all of my tools every year, I think last year was like $750, $800. Again, depending on where you're at, it can cost a lot more. There's a really loud bird over there. It can cost a lot more. It can cost a lot less. Bro, hush. It can cost a lot more. It can cost a lot less. It just depends on where you're going. I'm sorry for that. There's nothing I can do. It just depends on where you're going to get your tool calibrations done. So understand that tool calibrations are something that has to be done every single year. It's written in the FAR. That you have to keep calibrated tools, so there's no way to escape it. You're gonna have to have calibrated tools, especially performing inspections. You're gonna want to know that the compressions are what they are, that the cable tensions are what they say they are. You don't want any fudge factor in here. You want to know that the numbers you're getting are the proper and correct numbers. So again, tool calibrations, that was another one. And then quite possibly the biggest, or one of the biggest costs that I didn't really address in the video, but is definitely worth noting, is your manuals. I have been very, very, very lucky. I mean, like, really lucky in the sense that almost every single one of my owners / clients that I do work for keeps a current manual for their aircraft, either through an online publication service, or they actually have it in hard copy and they get the revisions and they revise it every time it gets revised. So, but keeping current manuals is a huge, huge, huge expense. And if you know other A&Ps that you can do this with, I recommend doing something like ATP Hub. ATP Hub is an incredible tool. They don't sponsor the channel, just putting that out there. But you can generate a D list, and you can pull ADs from from ATP Hub, and you can access millions of publications and manuals for any aircraft that you might be working on. Now, I will add that certain manufacturers, I know Beechcraft, you can get a lot of their manuals online from their website for free. I know you can get Cessna's manuals from their website, but they'll only give you like a couple of pages at a time. I think Piper, the only way to get a Piper manual really is through a publication service like ATP Hub. I've been really lucky. I haven't worked on a Piper in several years. I only had one that was on my regular client list, but he moved to Washington and he took the plane with him, so I don't work on that airplane anymore, so I haven't kept that manual in a while. But a manual subscription, depending on the manuals you're buying or being subscribed to, it can be very little. It can be 50, 60, 100 bucks a month. It can be several $1,000s a month if you've got hundreds of manuals because you're working on hundreds of airplanes. But if you have hundreds of manuals, you're probably not doing this as a side hustle or part-time. You're probably doing this full-time. So manuals are a huge, huge cost. And like I said, looking up your ADs, that can be done through ATP Hub as well. But ATP Hub, AD lookup is actually free on the FAA website. It's pain. They've changed the system. It's kind of annoying to use. It's really hard to find the ADs you're looking for, but you can look up your ADs for free. You can generate an AD list of your own design in Microsoft Word or Excel or whatever you want to do. You just got to make sure you have the number, the recurrency, the effective date, a brief description, complied with, not complied with, and then a block for your sign-off. So there's some things you need to make sure you have on there, but you can generate your own. You don't have to use an online service to generate an AD list. The last expense that I would like to talk to you about is taxes. Now, this is not me admitting that I'm doing things a certain way. This is just me admitting that I'm an idiot. The way I have my W-2 filled out at my day job at the school is single filing, minimum amount of deductions. They take as much as they possibly can from me every single paycheck. And I am married, I do have stepchildren, I do have plenty of deductions. I just don't have them marked on my W-2. So at the end of the year, I've had enough money taken out of my regular paycheck that when I file for my taxes on my side business, when I file for my taxes on my side business, I end up having already paid the required amount that the side business would have made. And it's very, very important that you keep track of every single expense for your business. Every single mile you drive, every single taco, every single coffee, every single lunch you buy, any tools you buy, any calibrations you get done, anything you can even remotely justify as a business expense, you keep the receipt for it, you file it, and at the end of the year, you claim it as a business expense, and you get a deduction. If you have to go buy a brand new truck, you buy it as a business, or you buy it as a business expense. You depreciate it as much as you can. If it's over $6,000 or over 6,000 pounds, you can depreciate the whole thing. If it's under 6,000 pounds, I think you can depreciate $10,000 in the first year, and then there's a set amount each year after that. But that doesn't matter. You write that off as a business expense. This is not tax advice from Bryce. Go to a certified CPA, a tax person, whoever it is, somebody you know, somebody you trust, somebody who's very good at this kind of thing that will keep you from getting audited by the IRS, because believe me, that is the last thing you want to do. You want to make as much money as you can, and you want to pay as little as you can in taxes, but you don't want to do it in such a way that you find yourself sitting in a prison for tax evasion. So make sure you're doing it through the right person. You do not want to ever owe the government money. Trust me on that one. And like I said, keep track of all of your receipts, all of your expenditures, and keep yourself protected. So there you go, everybody. I know I kind of rambled on in this video, and it was maybe seemed like it was a little bit all over the place, but I wanted to clarify some of those things for my Sunday upload. The video is doing very well. Lots of people are commenting on it, and I just wanted to add a little bit to that about the cost of, it's not all Oreos and gummy bears and roses. Just my tooling and everything up front cost me almost $2,000 just for all of my tools. That doesn't include all the tools I already had, like wrenches and sockets and all that kind of stuff. That's just the inspection tools, not the toolbox I already had. Like I said, the manual subscriptions are very expensive. Your taxes are expensive. Insurance is going to be really expensive if you ever get to a point where you feel like you need to have insurance. So be prepared for all of that. So there you go, everybody. It is Wednesday, June 19th. I am off. I'm actually in the process of working on my Miata. I'm going to be powder coating the deck plates, the door handles, the headlight rings, some other things black. Because I'm trying to black out the car. I don't know if you can see that the turn signals are black. I don't know if those are in the shot or not. But anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on this before the rain comes, because there's a massive storm out in the Gulf pushing in, and it's supposed to bring us a lot of rain tonight tomorrow and possibly into Friday. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave me a like, leave me a comment, tell me your thoughts, subscribe, all that good stuff. As always, go build something and be easy.